let us bring in Jonathan Davis, who now does join me on the programme. He is the economist and wealth manager. Jonathan, good morning to you.
Hello, Vanessa.
Hello. Tell me about inheritance tax. It's being called a London tax. We certainly seem to attract more of it than anyone else in the country. Does it strike you as a fair tax?
I don't think any tax is fair as it happens. In this case, a married couple who leave in excess of £650,000 their beneficiaries will pay tax on the excess. So therefore, if their estate is, say, £1 million, then the tax could be 40% of 350,000, which is give or take £150,000 on £1 million estate. That, to me, does not sound a particularly high amount. Clearly, you get into big numbers when it becomes 5 million, 10 million, £1 billion, and so on. But of course, when you get to those numbers, you aren't paying the tax because you're taking advice from legal and financial advisors to not pay the tax. And quite right too, because no one should pay any more tax than they need to, and that's not just according to me, that's according to Winston Churchill.
And so, as you've sat there leafing through your newspapers and reading the details of David Cameron's finances, have you been less than worried by it all? Have you thought, well, of course, why wouldn't you find a nice offshore vehicle and legally channel your money there?
Well, he didn't do that.
No, I know it was his father.
His father did.
Yes.
And as did tens of thousands of others. What we're actually talking about here is nothing to do with that. What we're talking about is inheritance tax that his mother gave to David Cameron some years ago. And the fact is, no one need pay inheritance tax. So if you make a gift more than 7 years before you die, then there's no tax to be paid. And that is perfectly sensible. If you don't need the money, give it to your kids. There's no more important right in society than property rights. That means assets of all kind. And if you have made money, then give it to your kids. Why give it to the state so that they can waste it?
Let's just imagine, though, that let's just say hypothetically you had £200,000 and conveniently 2 children. And you thought, right, what I will do, this is the money I actually need for my old age, and I need it to support myself, I need it to live and to eat and everything else. But in order to try and avoid inheritance tax when I should pass away, I will legally give that money to my children now. But I know that because they love me and I love them, they'll allow me to use it to eat and survive so I don't starve to death. And so you do make it over to them as a gift, and then they run away with it or spend it, or your horrible sons or daughters-in-law connivingly decide to get divorced and scarper with half of it or whatever it is. It's a risky one, isn't it, giving gifts of money if you actually need the money yourself?
I am the first, because, my day-to-day work is I am a wealth manager. I'm the first to say never let the tax tail wag the investment or spending dog. In other words, if it's risky, don't do it. If there's a possibility, even a possibility, that by giving money away that you need, that this could bounce back and bite you, then simply don't do it. No, you look after yourself first. Then once you've done the numbers, if you've got excess, and you're always going to have excess, for goodness sake, why give it to the state? Give it to your kids.
Are there clever things and creative tax things that people can do in London to try to avoid paying too much tax, inheritance tax? For example, can you give away a slice of your house, your 3-bedroom flat in Dulwich, or a chunk of it, or something, or does that somehow backfire as well?
If you give away the property or part of the property in which you live, you will then have to pay a market rent for that property to whomever you've given the gift. So clearly you give and you get charged as well. So that's not going to help. The simplest thing is if you live in a big house, you could, of course, trade down, release some cash, hand the cash over. That seems pretty smart. If you live in a big house, you don't need a big house. Secondly, you could simply and efficiently take out an insurance policy which pays out on the second of the couple to die. And the money will go straight to the beneficiaries, in effect, to pay the tax.
But are they not inordinately expensive, those particular insurance? Aren't they so expensive that they... I mean, if you die nice and quickly, it works out okay. If you don't die for a few decades, boy, have you paid money on the insurance policy.
Well, of course, I'm not talking about 20 or 30 or 40-year-olds doing this. Maybe 50, 60, 70-year-olds, and actually up to your 70s, it's not particularly expensive. Beyond that, once you get older than that, there are other things you can do. Indeed, you can make gifts, live 7 years, and there's no tax on the gift. There are other things you can do, which many thousands of folk do, many tens of thousands of folk do. I think the major principle is you shouldn't pay a penny more tax than you need to.
Tell me about what people have alluded to already on the programme this morning. I think for some people, the whole idea of it would be so intimidating, they wouldn't even understand what was going on. Others would think, oh yeah, I've already done this, which is, I don't even know what it means, but forming a trust or putting the money into a trust. Is that an actual thing? And if so, what does it mean?
Well, you know, many pensions are based on the trust system. The trust system is basically you just hand money over to a third party, and that third party is given the authority, not the instructions, the authority to, when you die, pass money on to people that you would like money to go to. For most people, a trust is not necessary. A pension will do the job for you because you can pass money out of a pension to whoever you want under your instruction. It's really that simple, and you get tax relief for doing so. Most people don't have to go down the convoluted, complex system of trusts. And even if you are particularly wealthy, there are ways and means which are not complex. Seek advice from a lawyer or from a financial advisor. There are many ways you can avoid this tax, and I could not say more often, you should avoid this tax. You should avoid all tax if you possibly can.
Thank you very much indeed. Jonathan Davis there, the wealth advisor.